Mr. Bean, where we explore questions that shape our world and challenge the system behind it. Today's question is massive. What if India gets a permanent seat in United Nations Security Council? We have heard so many times that India must get a permanent seat in United Nations Security Council. But have you ever asked this question to yourself that what would happen or what would India get by just simply getting a permanent seat? Why does that matter and what parts does it unlock? And most importantly, how would it reshape global politics? So let's dive deep. To understand what India could gain, we first need to understand what the United Nations Security Council actually is. The Security Council, or UNSC, is the most powerful arm of the United Nations.
The United Nations Security Council, UNSC, stands as a formidable force in global governance, holding the power to maintain peace and security. With 5 permanent members, including the United States and Russia, any dissent from them can stall resolutions. India's bid for a permanent seat faces opposition from China and Pakistan, highlighting the complex interplay of international politics that hinders its ambitions to join this elite group.
It is responsible for maintaining international peace and security. It can authorize sanctions, military actions, peacekeeping missions, and even legitimize wars. So currently, it has 15 members. 5 are permanent members: United States, Russia, China, France, and United Kingdom. The remaining 10 are just non-permanent members elected for just 2 years. The permanent members, the so-called P5, enjoy one massive privilege, and that is called the veto power. That means even if one of them says no, the entire resolution is blocked. So when people say India deserves a permanent seat, they are actually talking about joining this exclusive club that literally decides how the world functions. Now let's ask why does India want it? And even more importantly, why does it deserve it? Let's understand with numbers and influence. So India is the world's most populous nation, home to 1.4 billion people. The second is it's the fourth largest economy, already overtaking the UK, one of the current P5 members. The third, I would say, it has one of the largest contributors to UN peacekeeping forces with thousands of soldiers serving under the UN flag. Apart from that, the other point could be geopolitically that India is a nuclear power, a space-faring nation, and a growing voice for the global south, the developing world. So, the beyond statistics, India's democracy, diplomacy, and cultural influence make it a natural fit. From climate change to digital innovation, from counterterrorism to global trade, India is at the center of the every global conversation. So, what will actually happen if India becomes a permanent member? The first thing is a more representative world order. Right now, the UNSC represents the power structure of 1945, not 2025. So, when it was formed, most of the today's developing nations were still under colonial rule. India's inclusion would signal a shift from a Western dominated order to a truly global one. And point number two, the voice of global south would finally have weight. India could speak not just for herself but for Asia, Africa, and Latin America, so regions that have long felt underrepresented. Third, policymakers. As a permanent member, India would participate in drafting resolutions, shaping sanctions, and deciding global peace missions. I imagine that India helping decide the future of the Middle East or peacekeeping in Africa, not as an observer but as a decision maker. Fourth, national security benefits. A permanent seat would amplify India's global stature. It would have more leverage on issues like Kashmir, cross border terrorism, and international trade. Other nations would think twice before taking hostile actions, knowing India now has a veto and global backing. And lastly, symbolic prestige. Just like a Nobel Prize adds prestige to a person, a United Nations Security Council seat adds a diplomatic respect to a country. India would finally officially join the topmost table in the world. So let's break down the main advantages one by one. The first advantage is definitely veto power. So India could block any resolution that goes against its interest, just like China always does. Talking about the second point, influence on global issues. So from climate policies to economic sanctions, India's voice would carry a real weight. Point number third, if I want to add here is, it will definitely give boost to foreign policy. So India's position in international negotiations with the US, China, or even Pakistan would become far stronger. Talking about the strategic defense edge, being recognized as a global power adds legitimacy to India's defense, nuclear, and space ambitions. Point number five could be the soft power growth. So the Bollywood, yoga, and technology have already made India famous, but political recognition at this level would elevate it to the superpower status. But, and there is always a but, this dream isn't easy. China has consistently opposed India's inclusion. So China says to India that UNSC seat, you are talking about UNSC seat? Sorry, buddy, you are out of stock since 1945. Try again, never. So why? So because it doesn't want another Asian rival at the same power level. So Pakistan also lobbies against India's bid, often using the Kashmir issue as a reason. So even within the West, opinions are divided. The US, France, and UK have expressed support, but reforms in the UN requires at least two-thirds approval of all the 193 member countries and no veto from any P5 nations. That's like convincing a billionaire club to add a new member who might share their profits. So while supporting exits, politics and power balance keep blocking the change. So still this future isn't hopeless. The world is changing and the old order is cracking as new powers like India, Japan, Brazil and Germany rise. The demand for reform grows louder and louder. Eventually the UN will have to evolve, because our 21st century world cannot be run by a 1945 blueprint. If India gets that permanent seat, it won't just become a victory for one nation, it will be a victory for democracy, diversity and balance in global decision making. So the question isn't will India get it? It's actually when will India get it? And when it happens, believe me, the global order will finally start reflecting the real world, not just the winners of World War II, my friend. So this is Mr. Bean, reminding you that power isn't just given, it's earned through persistence, purpose and patience. So stay aware, stay curious, and until next time, keep questioning the system.